The cafe was unusually quiet that bright afternoon, sunlight spilling through the tall windows in soft golden sheets, yet the air felt heavy, almost trembling, with the weight of someone's pain. Rowan Malik felt it before he saw her. A young woman sat alone at the far corner table, her hands gripping a paper cup that had long gone cold. Her shoulders were trembling, her eyes distant and glassy. It looked as if she wasn't just having a bad day. She was losing a battle no one else could see. For a moment, Rowan wondered whether he should mind his own business. But something inside him, perhaps the same instinct that made him fight every day for his 7-year-old son's happiness, pushed him forward. That decision would unravel secrets, rewrite destinies, and bring two broken lives together in a way he never imagined. If you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Acts of Kindness. It truly helps us bring more stories like this to life. Rowan tried to remember the last time he'd seen such raw, open hurt on someone's face. Maybe it was the night he signed the divorce papers he never wanted. Or the day the doctor told him his son Noah had sensory processing issues that would require more care than he alone could easily provide. But Rowan had sworn that no one around him would ever feel alone if he could help it. So he approached the stranger. She didn't seem to notice him until he gently motioned to the chair across from her. She blinked, startled, as if waking from a nightmare she still wasn't free from. He didn't ask what was wrong. He only asked whether she wanted company. And for reasons she herself didn't fully understand, she nodded. Her name, she eventually said, was Aria Sterling, a name he didn't recognize. She looked like someone in her late 20s, elegant even in her distress, her long black hair slightly disheveled, her tailored cream blazer wrinkled, as though she'd left somewhere in a hurry. But there was an emptiness in her eyes, the kind that comes from betrayal or grief. Rowan didn't push her to talk. Instead, he told her about the sunshine outside, the way his son kept drawing pictures of trees with blue leaves, insisting they were dreaming trees, and how simple moments like that kept him going. Slowly, her breathing steadied. The tears stopped shaking her shoulders, and she began telling him everything. Aria had spent years believing she had found her life's anchor in a man named Victor Hale, someone she trusted both emotionally and professionally. She had recently taken over as the CEO of her family's massive company, Sterling Haven Enterprises, and Victor had been both her fiancé and her chief operating officer. Hours earlier, she had discovered that he had been siphoning company funds, manipulating contracts, and partnering with a rival corporation to push her out of leadership. When she confronted him, he confessed without shame and broke off their engagement in the coldest, most calculated way possible. The betrayal shattered her, not because she lost money, power, or position, but because she lost the last person she thought was on her side. Rowan sat with her in quiet understanding. He didn't know the pressure of running an empire, but he knew heartbreak and abandonment. He told her that pain, no matter how vast or small, deserves to be felt and deserves to be healed. She listened, surprised by how grounded he felt, like an anchor dropped suddenly into the stormy waters of her life. Maybe that was why she didn't want him to leave when his phone buzzed with a reminder to pick up Noah from school. Rowan apologized, saying he needed to go, but Aria stood quickly and insisted on walking with him. She said the fresh air might help her breathe again. Outside, the afternoon sun painted the sidewalks with brightness that contrasted painfully with the turmoil inside her. For the first time, Rowan saw how fragile she looked despite her polished exterior. When they reached the school gate, Noah ran toward his father, laughing as he always did, his backpack bouncing. Rowan picked him up with the ease of someone who had carried the world alone for years. Noah stared at Aria with wide, curious eyes. She smiled weakly, and he smiled back, making her heart soften for the first time all day. Rowan introduced her simply as a friend, not a CEO, not a powerful figure, just a human being who needed warmth. The simplicity of that moment brought tears to Aria's eyes again. Rowan offered to drive her home. She hesitated but agreed, not wanting to return to an empty penthouse where the betrayal would echo in every corner. In the car, Noah hummed songs off-key, playing with a toy airplane, completely unaware of how his innocence was stitching broken pieces of a stranger's heart together. Rowan dropped her at her building, but not before giving her something she desperately needed. His phone number, offered with no expectation. No motive, just care. Over the next week, Rowan became the steady presence Aria didn't know she needed. She learned he worked as a freelance landscape designer, taking small contracts so he could adjust his hours around Noah's needs. Life had not been gentle to him, but he had learned to respond with patience and love rather than bitterness. Aria found herself drawn to the simplicity of their world. The messy drawings on the fridge, the hand-me-down couch, the scent of jasmine tea. Rowan seemed to keep brewing. She felt more seen there than she ever had in rooms filled with CEOs and investors. But her world was far from simple. News soon broke about Victor's betrayal, and though she had fired him, the board began questioning her leadership. Rumors spread that she had been too trusting, too emotional, too young. Her family's legacy hung in the balance. She wanted to fight, but the weight of it all became overwhelming. One afternoon, she appeared at Rowan's door, trembling again. Not with grief this time, but with fear of losing everything she'd worked for. Rowan invited her inside without hesitation. She sat on the couch while Noah played with building blocks near her feet. That was when she told Rowan the truth. The full truth. How she was not just a CEO, but one of the youngest billionaire business leaders in the country. How her company employed over 40,000 people. How she was terrified of disappointing her late father, the man who had built the empire with bruised hands and relentless heart. Rowan listened quietly, absorbing her words without flinching. When she finished, she braced herself for the shift. The change in how people always saw her once they learned who she was. But it never came. Rowan simply nodded, thanked her for trusting him, and told her she was still the same person he'd met in the cafe. The one who needed someone to sit with her. That gentle response broke something open inside her. She felt as if she had finally found a place where she didn't have to be perfect or strong. She could simply be Arya. The next morning, she returned to the boardroom with renewed determination. She presented evidence of Victor's fraud, revealed a turnaround plan she had drafted with Rowan's encouragement, and reminded the board that leadership wasn't about never falling. It was about standing up again with integrity. Her strength and clarity won them back, and the company rallied behind her. But even with her empire restored, Arya found herself longing for something more. She missed Rowan and Noah, missed the warmth she felt in their modest home. Days later, she appeared again at Rowan's doorstep, this time not broken or trembling but hopeful. She brought handmade cookies for Noah and a potted blue hydrangea for Rowan, saying it reminded her of the peace she found in his presence. That simple act began a new chapter. Arya started joining them on weekend picnics, school pickups, and quiet dinners. She marveled at how Rowan's life, though filled with challenges, overflowed with meaning. Rowan admired her resilience and the way she allowed herself to be vulnerable despite her immense responsibilities. But as their bond deepened, so did Rowan's fears. He worried that someone like her, a woman of influence, wealth, and prestige, would eventually realize he was too small for her world. One evening, after Noah had fallen asleep, Rowan confessed his fears. Arya listened with tears gathering in her eyes. She told him that the day he offered to sit with her, he saved her from drowning in pain. She said that in all her years of negotiating billion-dollar deals, nothing had ever felt as valuable as the calm he brought into her life. Still, Rowan struggled internally, torn between his growing feelings and the belief that he wasn't enough. Arya sensed it, but she didn't push him. Instead, she showed him, in countless small daytime moments, how much he meant to her. She helped Noah build model airplanes, she cheered on Rowan's small business projects, and she began hosting community events that supported single parents. Slowly, Rowan's walls started to crumble. Yet life had one more test waiting for them. A major incident occurred within her company. A scandal involving an old investor threatening legal action and smearing her name publicly. The press swarmed her with accusations and false narratives. Overnight, the woman Rowan knew transformed back into someone carrying unbearable weight. She tried to handle it alone, fearing that dragging Rowan into her chaotic world would burden him. But Rowan showed up anyway, knocking on her door early one morning, telling her she didn't need to pretend she was alone. He reminded her of her own strength, the strength he had witnessed the day she marched into the boardroom and reclaimed her place. His presence steadied her again, and together they strategized, fought through the crisis, and ultimately exposed the false accusations. The day the truth finally came out, clearing her name completely, Arya didn't return to her penthouse. Instead, she went straight to Rowan's small home, where Noah was building a new, dreaming tree. She stood in the doorway, tears streaming silently, overwhelmed not by fear this time, but by gratitude. She realized that for the first time in her life, she felt truly safe. Their relationship deepened naturally, quietly, without grand declarations. It grew through shared struggles, mutual respect, and moments where two wounded souls chose to heal together. Rowan no longer felt inadequate, for he understood that love isn't about matching worlds. It's about holding someone's heart with honesty and care. And Arya, she no longer feared losing everything, because she had discovered something more valuable than power, influence, or wealth. The comfort of a home built not by bricks or money, but by trust, kindness, and the laughter of a little boy who adored blue leaf dreaming trees. As their story closes, and as the sunlight once again fills the spaces of their lives, both Rowan and Arya learn that sometimes the most unexpected meetings bring the most life-changing gifts. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Acts of Kindness. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful stories that inspire and uplift.